How you doing? That's how I take pictures of people. Okay. Now, if I see any of you on the street, I'll know that you got educated tonight. So if you're doing something you're not supposed to do, you can have that talk too. I can't stand still very long. You can hear me okay if I do this? Yeah. Okay. 8 minutes, right? Relationship is everything. Okay? Relationship is everything. At youth services, this is what we talk about every day. The interventionists who work with me every day, call them youth interventionist coordinators. The original title was gangbanger case manager. Work with young people and their families involved with gangs, drugs, and violence. And we're busy. And we're busy. And the thing that's kept us really busy, in particular, the last several years, has been the drug aspect of it. I want to congratulate the community on a couple of things. The parents, the group now calling themselves Impact, directly because of the work that they've done, where parents have talked with other parents. My count, narratively, 67 families getting help and getting into treatment because somebody like you went to a talk like this. A parent went and talked to another parent and said, you know what? I got a problem in my house, and my kid hangs out with your kid. Your kid might have a problem too. I think you need to take a look at that. Because you know what? I love my kid. My assumption is you love yours. I went and did something about it. I think you should talk about it and see if you should do something about it. You got 67 people into treatment who need it. That changes the arc of their story. You know people can change their stories? Right? You're going to hear shortly in a little while from some people who made decisions and changed their stories. You can do it. And it takes work. And there are stories where people make these changes all by themselves, but they're very rare. Most of the time, it takes a lot of people to help change their story. I got a call last week from a young man from your community who right now is not living in this community and can't. I'll tell you why. He called me when he had 95 days clean and sober. And it's a powerful thing for him. 95 days clean and sober, clean and sober, living in a halfway house right now. And I said, Oak Park's my home. I love it there. I hope someday I can come back. I said, why can't you come back? Because I can't even come back to visit right now. Because right now, where I'm at, if I see somebody lighten up, if I see somebody taking a drink, if they offer me something, I want to do it. This is relationship with alcohol and marijuana specifically is addiction. And when he sees it, he wants it, starts moving towards it. But where he's at now, he gets that urge, he gets that feeling, and he goes to a meeting. He finds someplace else to go. He calls his sponsor, right? He has a relationship with other people to keep him from the abusive relationship that he was in with drugs and alcohol. He said he can't come back here because he'll see his friends. And most of the time his friends are holding. Most of the times his friends have something. And he would go from talking with them to partying with them very fast. So he can't come home yet. He can't come home yet. He's going to call me again when he has 200 days. He's going to call me again when he has 300. When he gets over into his second year, we're going to talk about maybe then he'll come back and talk with some of you. But he's got a lot of work ahead of him. And the end of our conversation was, I said, this is great. It's wonderful. I'm glad that you're doing all these things. Don't get cocky. Because that's his downfall. You're a prideful young man. Very talented young man. In this case, he loves music. Very talented lad. I've seen him play. I've seen him perform. Very powerful, amazing performer. Loves music. And guess what? The thing that he loves most, music, he traded it for something else. He got into a love relationship with drugs. He got into a love relationship with alcohol. And it took the place of the thing that before that he loved more than anything else. And is really good at it. Hasn't played in over 2 years now. I hope he gets back there. When you get back there, usually you get back there with help. Usually you get back there with help. Just like as the officer was saying, Sergeant Thornley was saying, how do drugs come into the community? Look to the left and right. Guess how people get saved? Guess how people figure it out? Guess how people get better? Look to the left and the right. Where are you going? Where are we going as a community? Where are you going as a family? Where are you going as an individual? There's a Native American story that what we have inside of all of us is we have a good dog and we got a wolf, evil, bad wolf. And they're fighting for who is in charge of us. And it's a grandfather telling this story to his grandson, and he says, you know, who wins? Who wins in the struggle? Is the one you feed. So who are we feeding? What are we feeding with the choices that we make? Has anyone heard about this kid, 14-year-old in Mexico? Call him El Ponchos, the cloak. He got recruited into a drug cartels when he was 11 years old. He's 14 now, and he's going on trial for 4 murders that he's copped to so far. They think he's done more. 14 years old. And he's murdering men for the cartel. The cartel that fight over these things to figure out how to get access so they can get drugs up here to sell to us. Money, another word for money is currency, right? Currency, because it moves, it flows, it goes all over the place. There's legitimate means that money flows around, and there's illegitimate means that money flows around. What are we feeding? When you put your hard-earned money, or in cases all too often that tie in with law enforcement, stolen money, or things that get stolen and then traded for money, or traded for drugs, where does that money flow to? It's flowing to people who recruit 12-year-olds to murder people so that they can profit off your addiction. This affects all of us. This affects people you've never met. This affects a woman who was called the bravest woman in Mexico because she took over a job with the previous chief of police in that small town, 10,000 border town in Mexico. They beheaded him, and then they went after his family. So nobody wanted to be chief of police for a year. You can understand that, right? This woman was 21 years old, chief of police in this town. And you know what she was doing? She wasn't going after them. She was going and having conversations like we're having. She was going into people's homes. Her 6 officers were going into people's homes and going, look, we have to change the culture of our community. We have to become people who don't let this kind of stuff happen. And you know what? That started to change stuff more than the military going after him. So they went after her. When they threatened her child and her husband, she booked and came here. Find it ironic that someone had to leave their country to come to this country for safety, when the reason it's unsafe in her country is because of how much money is flowing from here to there to support people doing horrible, terrible things in her town. There's a saying in Lakota, I'm going to mispronounce it horribly, but it's Matakoye-san. So we're all connected. We're all connected to one another. What are we putting our energy to? You feeding the wolf, or you feeding that good dog in you? That's internal. The other part is external. We feeding the wolves that raise 12-year-old murderers, or we feeding something that's trying to help people out, like doctors who help people's lives, rescue people every day. There's a program called Face It. There will be brochures out on the end there. This is something that we brought into the community, and it's an opportunity for parents and students to build on their relationship and get educated about drugs and alcohol and changing that piece. So that program is available to you, no cost, and the brochures are out in the back. Thank you for your attention.